Be a funny lady speak. There we go. Awesome. So hello and welcome to our third Mind and Body Academy webinar series featuring a range of wonderful guest speakers. So I'm really excited for this series and for Claire today. It's all about, for me, meeting new people, seeing what kind of collaborations could come up and what kind of connections we can make. So this event is part of our Mind and Body Academy content that we're continually adding to alongside all our courses and programs and workshops and retreats and all the stuff that we do. It's our hope that with the people that we work with, such as Claire, we will naturally find some new partners along the way. And, you know, who knows what may come of these conversations. So today's session is exploring when emotions run high and logic goes out the window. That sounds like most of my days, to be fair. And that's where, in Claire's word, a slightly weird looking technique comes in. It's called EFT, Emotional Freedom Techniques. It's a simple evidence-based method that helps regulate the nervous system and shift emotional intensity in minutes. It might look a little strange at first, but the results speak for themselves. So this session is going to be both educational and experiential, so giving all of you lovely guys a chance to feel the shift for yourselves. No fluff, no jargon, just a practical tool you can start using straight away to handle stress, overwhelm, and emotional triggers. We're also going to have a bit of time after this for Q&A, which at that point I will stop the recording. Okay. So as I say, we've got a lovely guest speaker, Claire, with us today. Claire is the creator of Abundance Alchemy, and she helps holistic practitioners dissolve some subconscious resistance so they can grow a thriving business and help more people. And she writes it so I can get my tongue twisted around that as well. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm here to make your life easier.
Oh, fantastic. Her work combines energy, psychology, nervous system tools, and a deep identity work to create sustainable success with ease. Sounds fantastic. Because the most effective way to change your results is to change the identity of the person creating them. I love that. Fantastic. So I'm going to shut up now and hand over to Claire. So Claire, thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you, my lovely. Hello, ladies. Just give me a wave if you can hear me. Awesome stuff. Thank you. If you're not on video, that's absolutely fine. But if you can give me a little thumbs up, just so I know that you're there. I'm very nosy. I do like to see what people look like. I'm actually going to turn the chat off because I get very distracted. Awesome stuff. Thank you, my lovelies. So just by a show of hands or by giving a thumbs up, who here has heard of EFT before? Hello, Mel. Thank you. Susan. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, awesome. Who has never, ever heard of EFT and do not know what they're about to let themselves in for? Thank you, fresh meat. Amazing. Thank you very much. So then, my love, is what I'm going to do over the next 30 minutes or so is I'm going to tell you a little bit about what EFT is, how it works, a little tiny bit of the science behind it for anyone who's super sciencey minded. I'm also going to tell you how to do it. And then as fast as possible, I want to get into actually doing some so you can experience. And then at the end of that, obviously, as Joanna said, there'll be opportunity for Q&As. When we get to the actual demo, the actual tapping session, it may be that this gets a little bit more interactive because I do like to get some feedback, have a little bit of a chat, see what people are experiencing. So if you've got any burning questions, then obviously I can answer them then. Does that sound okay to everyone? Just give me a wave. If it doesn't sound okay, it's tough because that's what we're going to do. All right then, my lovies. So EFT, it stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques, and it's often referred to as tapping, and you'll find out why in a moment if you haven't heard of it before. And I am gonna pre-warn you. And first off, I am gonna swear. This might be a bit of a giveaway. But it looks really fucking weird, and you're gonna feel a bit silly doing it. But it is super effective. And the way it works is we're going to be tapping specific acupressure points on our face and torso. And when you tap those points, it generates an electrical signal that travels to the stress response center of your brain, a part of your brain called the amygdala, and it essentially turns it off. So it is super effective. As Joanna said, it's super effective at bringing very high intensity emotion down. And the upside of that is, you know, when your emotion is very high, where's your intellect? point to where you think your intellect will go. Thank you, Joanna. Thank you, Yvonne. Yeah, it's going to go down. It is biologically, physically impossible for you to be very emotional and very intelligent all at the same time. So that's not awesome when it comes to making decisions or just generally living your life. So if we can use a technique that reduces that emotion very fast, brings your prefrontal cortex back online, so that's the executive CEO part of your brain, this is going to be really beneficial. So you can use EFT in a couple of ways. It's kind of like a pincer movement. You can use it to lower emotional intensity very, very fast, as I've just mentioned, but you can also use it to go and find the memories and the subconscious beliefs that are causing the spike or the trigger in the first place and just kind of neutralize them. Now, today, because of time, we're going to just focus on how we use it to bring down the emotion. But with the other side of it, I often liken it to, if you imagine a kiddie at school and they're asked to give a presentation to the class, and they get up to the front of the class, they give their presentation, and maybe they get something a bit wrong, maybe they stumble over their words, and the class laughs at them. Maybe the teacher says something a bit derogatory. And in that moment, our kiddie is going to have a surge of emotion. It's probably shame, embarrassment, humiliation, maybe even some anger. Now, I'd like you to think of your brain like a biocomputer, which is essentially what it is. And stuff that happens to us is stored in our biocomputer brain in little electronic folders. And those little electronic folders are created when we get that surge of emotion, because essentially when we feel the emotion, when we feel the stress response, our brain says, oh, way up, something important is happening. Quick, create a folder. And 4 things go in that folder. There's the emotion that caused it in the first place. There's a physiological reaction, so how your body responds. So in this example, our kiddie's probably going a bit flushed, a bit shaky, a bit sweaty, maybe feel a bit sick. Those go in the folder. His brain's going to take a snapshot or a video of what's happening. And because in this example there's laughter, there might be an audio as well. That goes in the folder. And then the final thing is a decision. In that moment, our kid is going to make a decision about himself or about the world in general. And that might be something on the lines of, public speaking isn't safe, or I'm no good at public speaking, which is bonkers because we all love public speaking. Give me a show of hands if you love public speaking. Yay, Joanna! So there's a few weirdos in here. Cool. So then, because we've got that electronic folder with that information in it, I don't know about you ladies, I fucking love to be right, and I will go out of my way to prove myself so. So once we've got this folder and the brain has gone, this stuff is important, it will then look out for stuff that reinforces the decision we've made. If you find enough of that, or if you hear something from someone in a position of authority often enough, that decision can turn into a belief. And look, beliefs are really powerful. People will die for their beliefs. They'll kill for their beliefs. But the really key thing I want to hammer home here is that it is just a belief. It's not a truth. So we can change it. That's the good news. So then our kiddie grows up and he gets a job. And one day his boss comes up to me and says, there's an amazing opportunity for a promotion. You'll be fantastic at it. It's more money, it's less hours in the Bahamas. And our grown-up kid is like, oh my God, that sounds amazing. How do I get the promotion? And his boss says, it's really, really simple. All you have to do is give a presentation. And as soon as those words leave his boss's mouth, our grown-up kiddie's brain goes, hang on, we've been there before. It'll go rifling through the folders, it'll find the relevant one, and it'll press play. And our grown-up kiddie will get that surge of emotion. He'll get that physiological response. He'll find himself getting a bit sweaty, a bit sick, flushing slightly. He might not even remember the original memory itself, but all the emotions are coming up as if he was reliving it. And his inner voice, that inner voice we've all got, the really helpful one, goes, shit, I'm no good at public speaking. And then one of 2 things is going to happen. Either he's going to go for it, but he's so nervous he completely messes it up and doesn't get the promotion, or he goes, I can't do it, and he doesn't get the promotion. So that's how a subconscious limiting belief can impact us and the things we can achieve as we go through life. So what EFT is like, it's like running a virus scanner through your computer brain, and it finds the relevant folders and it takes the emotion out. As soon as you remove an emotional attachment to something, your brain goes, oh, not as important as I first thought. Fine, carry on. And it just makes everything so much easier to move through. But there is even some science behind this. I know, shocking. It sounds completely woo-woo and it's going to look really weird, but there is some really good science behind EFT. If anyone here is really keen on science, I recommend you check out the website of a lady called Peta Stapleton. That's P-E-T-A, and then Stapleton, S-T-A-P-L-E-T-O-N. And she conducted some research on this, and she got a group of people and she measured the level of cortisol in their saliva. So cortisol, for anyone who doesn't know, is one of the stress hormones. And then she stressed those people up a little bit. And they broke them into 3 groups. One group had an hour of nothing. Another group had an hour of, no, I lie. One group had an hour of reading magazines. One group had an hour of psychoeducation on stress, so pamphlets on what stress is and what to do about it. And the other group had an hour of EFT. At the end of the hour, they measured the level of cortisol in the saliva again. The group who had the psychoeducation on stress, their cortisol levels, they kind of decreased the usual amount you'd expect once you've taken the stressor away. The group who'd had magazines to read for an hour, their cortisol actually went up by 2%, so no reading magazines. The group who had received EFT for an hour, they experienced a whopping decrease in their cortisol levels. It was a 43% decrease in cortisol in just an hour. And the science is also showing that it only takes around 10 minutes for EFT to affect the level of adrenaline in your bloodstream. So it has some really key physiological beneficial effects, as well as there's all sorts of, it turns on and off DNA markers and all that sort of stuff. But if you're into all that, check out Dr. Peta Stapleton's stuff. So how do you do it? It's kind of broken into 2 parts. You have a setup statement, and then you have a round. Now, the setup statement, you start by tapping what's called the karate chop point, which is the side of your hand, the fleshy outside edge of your hand, where you would literally karate kid someone. And as you tap that point, and it can be either hand, it can be both hands together. It really doesn't matter, whatever feels most comfortable to you. As you tap that point, you say a statement. And the statement starts, even though. And then you say whatever is the challenge or the emotion that you're experiencing it. So to keep it really broad and general, even though I'm feeling really stressed. And then you follow that up with, I choose to deeply and completely accept myself. So it's the even though, the negative, followed up by a positive, which sounds a bit bonkers, because why on earth would you follow a negative with a positive? But who here, by show of hands, who here has heard of the term, what you resist persists? Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Susan. And it's completely true. The more you fight something, the more you resist something, the more it seems to hang on. So by saying, even though I'm experiencing this shit thing, I still accept myself, you're kind of giving yourself and your brain permission to just release it a little bit. And it just makes everything a lot easier. So you say that statement 3 times. And then you move into a round. And the round starts with your eyebrow point. So where your eyebrow begins at the top of your nose. Again, it can be either side, it can be both sides together. I tend to tap with my right hand because I'm right-handed, it's comfortable. My other half does double tapping. I get out of sync and start beating myself up. So it's entirely up to you. Once you've done eyebrow point, you come to the side eye point, which is the outside corner of your eye on your bony eye socket. If you're tapping your temple, you've gone too far. You want to be on the bony eye socket. Then you've got under eye. So under the eye and again on the bony eye socket. On the nose, which is exactly where it says on the tin. Chin, which is the groove between your lower lip and your chin point. Then you've got collarbone. So you could probably the easiest thing with this is to make a fist, tap where you'd find the knot of a tie. Then you've got underarms, so about 4 inches from your armpit, where your bra strap would be. I can remember I used to do tapping sessions in lockdown. No one was wearing bras. It was really difficult to pinpoint that area. And then top of head. So if you pop your fingers on top of your ears, draw 2 lines up where your fingers meet is where you tap. So essentially the crown of your head. And this is usually where I take a photo because everyone looks really weird. When you're tapping, the acupressure points we're tapping are on meridian lines and they run equally up and down both sides of your body. That's why it doesn't matter what side you're on. You can even switch sides halfway around if your arm gets tired. You want to be tapping hard enough so you can feel it, but not so hard you're going to end up covered in loads of little bruises. And people can sometimes smirk when I say that, but the reality is if you're tapping for something like anger, the temptation is to really go for it and it can get a bit painful after a while. So just be aware of that. As we tap through the round, we are going to be saying what are called reminder phrases. So as we're working with an emotion for this particular example, the reminder phrases are just there to keep the emotion front and center. So if you're feeling stressed, it's often a really cool idea. If you're doing this by yourself, just talk to yourself about why you're stressed as you tap through the points. If you were working with a belief, then the words become a bit more significant, but for emotion, it can be super, super simple. You could even just repeat the emotion you're feeling. If you're experiencing big emotion, you don't actually have to say anything because the point of the words is to bring the emotion up. So if you're already sitting in the emotion, you don't need to bring it up. So you can actually just tap through the points. Something I do say to people is if they're feeling a really intense emotion, a really cool phrase to say as you tap through is right here, right now, I'm okay. Now, what people often experience with EFT, particularly if they haven't done it before, if they haven't done it much, as we start tapping on an emotion, the emotion can go up, which can feel a bit uncomfortable. And this is the point where people can stop because it's like, oh, this is getting worse, it's not working. And they stop doing it. I'm going to invite you and strongly recommend that, I may even insist, that if that happens, you keep tapping. You don't have to say anything, but just keep tapping. Because remember, the tapping will turn off your amygdala. So it will peak for a moment and then it will start to decrease. So when we get into the demo itself, this is one of the reasons I like to have cameras on so I can keep a beady eye on people. So if you haven't got your camera on, that's okay. I'm just going to trust that you're going to be responsible for yourself. Is that okay with everyone? Yeah, awesome stuff. Thank you. Now, as we tap, you may experience what I can only describe as side effects. I don't quite know how else to describe them. And that may be stuff like tingling in your fingers or other body parts. It may feel like getting very hot or very cold. It may feel like getting really tired and wanting to yawn. It may even feel, and this is my personal favorite because I'm a lady, you might want to burp. This is all completely normal. You might also feel none of that, by the way, because everyone's different. But by a show of hands, who here recognizes that we're made of energy? Every single hand should be up. Thank you. Awesome stuff. And yeah, we are. It's just quantum sciencey fact. We're all made of energy. Now, when our energy is flowing freely, we feel good. We are in our flow. When that energy becomes a bit disrupted or blocked by emotions or limiting beliefs, it feels less comfortable. So as we start to tap these points, we're actually kind of starting to free up the energy. And the side effects can be a sign of that. So if you feel like, as you do this tapping, if you feel like you want to yawn, go for it. I won't think you think I'm boring because I know I'm fascinating. Just. And if you want to burp, then go for it. It may even be that you get a bit emotional. You might want to cry a little bit. I just want to say to whatever comes up, if you want to cry, I invite you just to cry. Okay, my lovely. So Gemma, instead of if it's the tapping that is going to be uncomfortable, you could just try rubbing gently what you're just really kind of looking for is some kind of mechanical stimulus on the acupressure point. So you could try a little bit of that. If it's really painful, you could even just play with imagining tapping the points, because the brain is really quite cool. Does that help you, Gemma love? Yeah, yeah, awesome. Also, by the way, if you can't, like, if you have trouble raising your hands up to get to like the underarm and stuff, just miss it out. Um, yeah, so the side effects, just to pre-warn you, you might get on of it, but if you do, that's what it is. It's nothing to worry about. The other thing about EFT is that it can be so effective, as weird as it looks, it can be so effective that people often forget how bad they felt at the beginning. It's something called the apex effect. And this was actually experienced by Dr. Peter when she did a research on EFT for food cravings. And she got some people and they put them on the mind machines and showed them pictures of yummy foods that we're not supposed to eat, and watched as various parts of their brain lit up. And then they did a course of EFT, and then they watched the pictures again, and the parts of the brain didn't light up after the EFT. But as a follow-up, she rang them about a year later, just to check to see what the results still were. And she said what she experienced was she'd ring us, oh, it's Dr. Peter, how are you getting on? Just ringing to check how your craving's doing. And there'd be a pause. And the person would say, oh, I know I came to you for a craving study, but I can't for the life of me remember what it was for. And I was like, oh, it was for chocolate. Oh, yeah, no, I haven't touched chocolate for ages. So we tend to forget. So when I'm working with clients, or if you're doing it for yourself, there's a couple of ways you can track your progress. The first way is by allocating a number 1 to 10. So if you're working with an emotion, it would be how intense does that emotion feel? If 10 is like, it's really intense, and 1 is just like, it's fine. And you do your tapping, and then you check in again. What has happened to that number? If you're working on a belief, if you know a bit more about EFT, it would be how true does this belief feel, 1 to 10, where 10 is really, really true. And then you do your tapping and you check in again. Now, obviously, one of 3 things is going to happen to your number. It's either going to go up, stay the same, or come down. All of that is absolutely perfect. I promise you, you can't do this wrong, but you can do it more effectively. So I do have a beginner's guide to tapping that goes into what all that means. It's completely free. I'm not going to dip into it now because I'm also conscious of time. Joanna, do give me a wave when I start running out. I'm trying to talk really fast. So if you're interested in more about EFT, how it works, and what the numbers mean, if they go up, down, or stay the same, then grab yourself that beginner's guide. To be completely transparent, it will whack you onto my email list, but you can always unsubscribe if it's not for you. I won't be offended. So before I dive into a demo, does anyone have a burning question? Oh, Hina, great question. How long do you tap on each point for? And I'm going to be so awful with my reply because it depends. Really bad of me, sorry, Hina. Some people, so the ladies that I learned this from, oh God, more years ago than I can really want to be comfortable with. One of them tapped really slowly and she stayed on a point for ages. And the other lady went through them like the speed of light, and you're like, ah. When I work with people, I stay on a point for as long as it takes me to say a reminder phrase, and then we move to the next point. If you are working by yourself, then it's whatever feels comfortable. When I first started learning this, the rule of thumb was you should tap 7 times. But if you can count and say a reminder phrase all at the same time, you are a better woman than I am. So it kind of doesn't matter. It's really whatever feels comfortable. But what I will say is if you're tapping for like anger or anxiety, if for instance, if it's anxiety, you might find you're tapping quite quickly. So get curious, what would happen if you slowed that down? Equally, if you're feeling really lethargic, what would happen if you speed it up? So it's just something to play with. But it's a great question, Hina. Thank you. Does that answer it? I'm going to say yes from the thank you. Awesome stuff. Does anyone else have a burning question before we dive into it? Is that a cat tail or your hand? It's a cat. Okay, fine. All right then, my lovies. So, Joanna, love, how long do I have to do the demo? Because I've completely not been looking at time.
How can you do something in 5 minutes? Is that
I
enough?
can. I can.
Fantastic.
Okay. So
Let's do that.
All right then, my lovies. So first off, I'm going to invite you to all close your eyes. Unless you're driving, then don't. And take a nice deep breath in and hold it. And let it go. Now we're going to do that again, but this time when you breathe in, I want you to judge how deep your breath is and give it a number 1 to 10, where 10 is as deep as you could possibly breathe in. So when you're ready, breathing another breath in. Give that a number. And then let it go. And then when you're ready, my lovelies, opening your eyes. And we're going to play with just seeing if we can deepen that breath on the next round. So I think everyone's on mute, aren't they? Awesome stuff. So you're going to tap where I tap. You're going to repeat after me. If you can repeat it out loud, awesome. If you're somewhere where you feel a bit silly, you can mumble it if you want to. But if you can say it through your mouth, that'd be awesome. I just find that a bit more powerful. So repeating after me, even though I could kind of breathe deep, but it wasn't massively deep. It all felt a little bit constricted, maybe. And that's okay. I choose to accept myself. Even though I'm not sure I can breathe any deeper than that. Because maybe there's some stuff going on. Maybe I've been breathing a bit shallowly. And I choose to love and accept myself anyway. Even though this all feels a bit weird. I'm really not sure how this is going to work. I'm not sure I want to breathe deeper. I'm not sure I can breathe deeper. I'm not sure how relevant this is. And that's okay. I'm willing to just get curious about it. Beautiful. Then come into your eyebrow. I can remember how deeply or how shallowly I just breathed. Maybe I could breathe deeper. Maybe I couldn't. Maybe I won't just because I should. You're not the boss of me, Claire. I'm going to breathe as deep as I want to breathe. I'm not sure I can breathe any deeper. It all feels a bit too tight. Maybe there's too much going on. You've got no idea what I'm facing. You've got no idea what I'm going through. You and your weird tapping. And maybe I need to hold on to the tightness. I'd love to breathe deeper, but I just can't. I've got too much going on. And I need to be tight and constricted about it. My body needs to be tense around it. So I won't breathe deeper. And you, Claire, can't make me. So Yabu sucks to you. I don't think I can breathe any deeper. But if I could, I wonder what it would feel like. If I could, I wonder how it would feel. And maybe I could just be open to it. Okay. take a nice deep breath in and hold it and rate, give it a number. And let it go when you're ready. Now, because I talked for way too long, that was a shorter demo than I would have liked. But out of pure curiosity, by a show of hands or by typing up in the chat, whose number is higher now than it was before? So you could breathe deeper. Awesome stuff. Thank you. By a show of hands, or thank you, Nick. By a show of hands or by typing same in the chat box, whose breath is exactly the same as it was before? Okay. By a show of hands or by typing ah in the chat box, who couldn't breathe at all? Whose number was lower than when they started? Okay, awesome. So that was a super quick demo on the effect that EFT can have on relaxing your body, because that's what allows you to take the deeper breath. Now, if you then apply that to something like stress or anxiety or frustration or anger, then it can have a really big impact. And one of the questions I get asked is how often should I do this and when should I do it? And the answer, again, is super unhelpful. I'm really bad at answering. I'm so sorry. It's super unhelpful. But the big thing is you can use it in the moment. That's probably for an emotion, that is probably the best time to use it. And I'll give you a quick example. I used to run workshops on stress, and I had like 150 people sign up for a stress workshop. 50 odd turned up. And I like to contact people, or I used to like to contact people after these workshops to see how it went. But at that point, I also was terrified of picking up the phone. Hated it. There was all sorts of drama in my past around making phone calls. So I employed someone to do it for me. I completely wimped out. I delegated. Whee! But she was on holiday, which is rude. And so I had to do it. And it was on Saturday morning after the workshop. And I was like, shit, I have to phone these people. And then my inner voice got involved. Oh, that's a lot of people. You've been doing it for a long time. And it's Saturday morning. Oh, that's really rude of you. That says it's like weekend. God, what a cow. Why don't you just text them? Oh, even better, why don't you just do like a blind copy email to everyone? That'll take no time at all. And I could feel myself talking myself out of this action. And so I just busted out some tapping. And if you're tapping by yourself, the best thing to do is as is what you're feeling. So say it as it is. So I did. I don't want to fucking phone people. I'm so scared of this. They're all going to hate me. They're all going to hang up on me. I'm going to feel so fucking awkward. I want to cringe. I don't want to do it. What if I just text everyone? Ah! And it took about 90 seconds for my inner voice to change from, I don't want to, will you just pick up the fucking phone? And I did. And the first phone call resulted in a 2K sale. If I hadn't made the phone call, that probably wouldn't have happened. So it's just a real life example of how using EFT in the moment can shift you from, I didn't solve any big limiting beliefs. I just shifted the inner voice from I don't want to maybe I can. And that's all that I needed in that moment. Now, I also recommend that you make EFT part of your daily routine. I like to tap in the morning because even if you feel like you don't really need it, it has all sorts of physical, amazing effects. And every tapping you do compounds. So it's about making your nervous system kind of more, I don't like it, it's such a buzzword, more resilient. But the more you tap, the more you regulate yourself, the harder it is for things to trigger you because you're more on an even keel. It just makes life easier. I don't know, who would like life to be a little bit easier? Yeah, right on. Does that make sense to everyone? Does anyone have a question? I didn't really have time to get really involved, but question time is the time to grill me as I tap quietly under the table.